Welcome everyone to the program. Let's kick off from the courtroom, and the biggest one at that, where the Supreme Court has affirmed the elections of Governors Aminu Tambuwal of Sokoto State and Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State in the March 2019 polls. In a unanimous judgment delivered by Justice Nwani Abaji, the Apex Court dismissed the appeal filed by the All Progressives Congress candidate Ahmed Aliyu, challenging the election of Governor Aminu Tambuwal. Mr. Aliyu's appeal was dismissed on the ground that he failed to prove his allegation of non-compliance with the Electoral Act and issues of overvoting. The court dismissed also the appeal filed by the People's Democratic Party's candidate, Mr. Abba Yusuf, challenging Governor Ganduje's election for lacking in merit. In a unanimous judgment delivered by Justice Sylvester Anguta, the court held that the appellant failed to prove any case of irregularity in the main election held on March the 9th and the supplementary election of the 23rd of March. The Apex Court is also expected to deliver judgment on the governorship appeals from Bauchi and Plateau State. Let's get the latest from our correspondent, Dinda Akibe, who's covering that story for us from the courtroom.
Today, the Supreme Court has so far affirmed the election of Abdullahi Ganduje as governor of Kano State. The court also dismissed the appeal filed by Ahmed Aliyu challenging the election of Aminu Tambuwal as the governor of Sokoto State. Now, in the case of the Kano governorship election, the Apex Court, in a unanimous judgment, dismissed the appeal filed by Abba Yusuf challenging the election of Governor Ganduje for lack of merit, and that the appellant failed to prove that there were irregularities in the Kano State supplementary election. In the case of Sokoto State governorship appeal, the Supreme Court dismissed the appeal challenging the election of Aminu Tambuwal as Sokoto State governor on the grounds that the appellant failed to prove his allegation of non-compliance with the Electoral Act and issues of overvoting. Now, we await the hearing and possible judgment on Bauchi and Plateau State governorship appeals.
Well, let's now get some of the legal perspectives on the judgment and also the implications of the verdict in some of the states. Mr. Emmanuel Ayegbolam, a lawyer, also the Director of Constitutional and Parliamentary Studies there in Abuja, joins us. We'd like to thank you for joining us on the program. Let's start with some of the few observations coming from our correspondent today as to the crowd at the Supreme Court and also the heightened security presence and a number of protests that we hear are there following of course, the Supreme Court verdicts coming from Imo State. It's rather interesting to see all of this playing out on a day like today.
Well, actually, that's what it ought to be. Actually, if we go back to 1983, when it's precisely what we are encountering now happened, two states then stood out, then Old Anambra State and Ondo State. If you remember Ajashi and the Moberio, then Ngobodo and Ono case. Those two states were not even able to celebrate our independence anniversary on 1st of October 1983 because of electoral issues. So if you see that trend, reimagine again with what we have gone through so far. It is not, let me say, it is not out of order. All the same, the setting in protest, well, is a part of democracy so far as it is peaceful. But this is now judgment of the court. We must have to bear that in mind. If it is with judgment of the court, protest may not be the best to it, but all the same, fundamental right of expression can go along with it. So that is what I can say as at the moment, because the basic underlying issue is that a good lawyer knows the law. A great lawyer knows the judge. It is better to know the judge than to know the law. As at the moment, the Supreme Court has given verdict. None of us have seen the script and the reason. In short, they have not even given reason, talk less of the judgment of these cases. So we may not be able to be in the best of position to describe what is on air as at the moment. But all the same, with the political and social mood of the moment, it is not out of order to see what we are seeing now. That is my verdict.
But Mr. Igben, we also have, a few rulings that have come in, and that's in the case of Kano and also that of Sokoto State. For Kano, for example, the reports we're getting is that the court dismissed the appeal filed by the PDP's candidate challenging Governor Ganduje's election for lacking in merit. In fact, the court held that the appellant failed to prove any case of irregularity in the main election that was held on the 9th of March and then the supplementary elections that were held later. I mean, looking at the strength of the cases and, some of the judgments given, what are your thoughts as to that? Some people would say it was perhaps maybe dead on arrival.
Well, like I said initially, we've not seen the reasons for these judgments, but that is the first issue. We have just said the court ruled unanimously that this person did not prove his case until we see and then analyze. Because actually, on the setting, there was the impression that Imo State and Kano State have basically the same issue. That is on the general note. Like I said, it took us back again to 1983. Mobodo and Ono's case, and Mobodo Owo and Ajashi, if you look very well at it, they seem to be what? Siamese twins of the same umbilical cord of electoral malpractice. But the Supreme Court, after 1 week, came back and said in Ondo State, in Anambra State case, that Mobodo did not prove his case beyond reasonable doubt. It was a 4-7 split decision. But on Ondo State case, they went back again, almost on the same issue. So, but that I will not be able, like I said, say what is on ground now within this issue until we see the full text of the judgment, and then now any person can now analyze and now make a judgment. The court itself has not really given the reason for this judgment. So that is the issue now on ground. And if you did not prove your case beyond reasonable doubt, we cannot be able to say that until we see the judgment and then see the trend and the tenor and whatever leads to the judgment and the ratios before that. That is the issue.
We appreciate your time, Mr. Emmanuel Aigbenem, Director, Center for Constitution and Parliamentary Studies. Thank you for joining us at this time.